please ask everybody to get back to their seats? My name is Hamza, entered at arms for the day. This is the second call to order. May I please ask everybody to stand? My name is Hamza, and today I'm going to be the Sergeant at Arms. I would like to get the logistics out of the way. Men's toilets are on the right hand side, and the ladies are on the left hand side. May I please ask everybody to put the phones off, or alternatively on silent. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Beautiful September 28th. There's something I wanted to, sorry, allow me to just go back here, get something.
You get it, don't worry.
We don't take it lightly, but we always love that we have so many visiting members and guests and prospective Toastmasters. And today's certainly no exception. A special welcome to our visiting members, to our friends from Centurion, Dave and Martin. Welcome as always. Nikki Quinn, welcome, lovely to have you. Hugo, you are still a visiting member.
We'll change that in the next few minutes.
Happy to say.
Thank
And
you.
David, oh yeah. Here we go. Thank you. Welcome, welcome. And then to visitors who are hopefully going to contemplate joining our club in the not too distant future, to Nikki at the back, to Naren, welcome again, and to Nati. Hi. We've got such a colourful program for today, so I'm not going to take it up by waffling on about anything other than to just say we have our wonderful award called the Big Mug, and you have a variety of slips of paper, white squares of paper in front of you. Please use one of them to make notes throughout the meeting on who has said something silly, funny, daft, and then I'll pick those up later and we'll award that to our Big Mug of the day. Thank you. Our business session, we do one of two things during the session. One is to acknowledge educational achievements and or to induct new members. We don't have new members to induct today, but we do have two. We had two, but Annika's not here, but we do have one certificate to hand over, and that is to our VP of Membership, who has just completed her Pathways Level 1.
Hey.
Thank you. Alright, before I introduce our Toastmaster, Madam
Sorry, Len.
Dino.
With that award, how many speeches has Annette actually done to achieve that?
5.
Is it 5?
4 in evaluation. Yeah. Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you. Madam VPE, are there any program changes and apologies, please?
No, we are set for the morning.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic. Okay. Our Toastmaster for the morning, with his theme Lively Limericks, please help me welcome Martin.
Thank you, Madam President. It's an honour to be here together with you today Bryanston Toastmasters has always been a very special club to visit. For myself and my colleague Dave, you'll always be very welcome here, so thank you very much for that. And the theme for today is largely limericks. Now, just for a bit of background quickly, a limerick is a 5 lines of rhyme, and it's got to have a start and an end that rhymes together. Now, I do hope everybody is prepared for this because you were asked to come with a limerick. Now, you might have Googled, and you'll find some wonderful limericks, especially the Irish, which I don't recommend that you read, because they are lusty limericks. And I really like them actually, because those are the things you remember, and I'm sure anybody here, if I've got to ask you, what's the naughtiest one you've ever heard? You're going to come out with some very strange statements. Like, for example, remember when nearly 16 on your first date as a teen at the movies? Oh yes, I bet you can't guess what was shown on the movie screen. Think about that. You went to the movies, and can you remember what you saw with your boyfriend or girlfriend at that stage? Come on. Holding your hands, you forgot everything else. But anyway, we can have a wonderful time. And firstly, we've got a few people, I see according to your menu here, also known as an agenda. You've got the toast of the day, which we should have had already. You know?
Yeah.
You're on here for the toast of the day.
Yeah.
So please, before we roast, will you do your toast? Please welcome.
Thank you, Martin, for remembering my toast. Can everybody just charge your glasses in preparation of the toast? Okay. So when we are born, we're delivered as a road that is unfaulted, perfectly constructed, and which allows us to travel smoothly along our journey of life. And through this journey of life, your road will change to treacherous uphills, to relaxing flats, to amazing, exhilarating downhills. But over time, your personal road is exposed to elements of change, and it creates rough edges, cracks, even potholes. So if these faults are not dealt with, they could lead to undesirable characteristic flaws within your life, and it can actually hinder your personal journey. So there are people within our lives that actually help us, knowingly or unknowingly, to round out those cracked edges, to flatten those flaws. And these people are parents and caregivers within our lives who provide that solid foundation of providing continuous, unconditional love. To siblings and cousins who remind us that who we are, who we were, and what our values are. To grandparents and community elders who provide meanings and insights, and who provides that overseeing eye, and to honest, faithful partners, friends, and members, and mentors. These are the people that you choose to call you out on those faults that you might have. So I would like to offer a toast to those people who continuously flatten our flaws and who help us become the best person we can be. So please raise your glasses and toast. To those who flatten our flaws.
Thank you, Dino. Jack and Joe went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Silly Joe forgot the pill, and now they have a daughter. Oh, that's good, I sorted it out.
I'm not telling that to my kids.
All right, we've got a timekeeper here who is a share his role. Please, sir,
Okay,
you can do it from there.
good morning everyone. I'm your timekeeper today, and my role as a timekeeper is to help speakers, evaluators, and impromptu speakers to keep on track. So for a 4 to 6 minute speech on 4, we use this device to track time. So for a 4 to 6 minutes speech, on 4 minutes it will be green, on 5 amber or yellow, on 6 it will be red. Then you need to stop your speech. Then for a 5 to 7 minute speech, on 5 green, 6 amber, 7 red. For a 7 to 9 minute speech, on 7 red, 8 amber, 9 red. And for evaluators, for 2 minutes it will be green, 2.5 minutes it will be amber or yellow, then 3 minutes it will be red. For impromptu speakers, today we don't have impromptu speeches. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Fortune. As you might know, Fortune bought a lovely watch and swallowed it one day. Now he's taking Brooklax pills to pass the time away. I know you're going to enjoy it today. We have got quite a few. All right, we've got our timekeeper in our club. We don't have a grammarian. We've got somebody who's authored a few books, and he's consultant to large companies, and he could never pronounce grammarian. He says grammatarian. So now we've got a grammatarian. Please help me welcome your grammatarian, Adrian.
The Toastmaster, I only discovered very shortly that a grammarian's role has another role, and that role is being a word master, which means that I've got to pick a word. And the word that just came to me instantly was spectre. You see it there, it's spelled S-P-E-C-T-R-E, but if you're an American, and it's easier to pronounce, the American word is T-E-R. And I've got 3 meanings for it. A ghost-like apparition, something that haunts or perturbs the mind. Now that's the one I'd like you to think about, something that perturbs your mind. That's the challenging one that you can use in your speech. And if you want a third one, it's an acronym for Special Executive for Counterintelligence, Terrorism, Revenge and Extortion. That's 2015 James Bond. That's it.
That's easy.
And then my role as the grammarian. Oh, I got to give you the uses of the word there. The one that's particular out to me. And look at that cup there. The spectre of the ignominy of winning the Toastmasters Dummy of the Day cup.
Dummy.
I've won it twice already. And here's a couple of more examples. If you let me put my glasses on. The new South Africa is confronted by the spectre of an ever-expanding army of unemployed and unemployable youth. Let's find another one. The shocking discovery of discarded glue bags raises the frightening spectre of youngsters hazarding their lives in search of cheap thrills. So those are the meanings there. And as a grammarian, I'm looking for the purpose of my role is to assist members in identifying proper language usage and awkward or incorrect usage, to comment on the use of English during the meeting, to carry a pocket dictionary or app, which I've got there. So that's basically it. So I've got to listen and record everything down here, how many times you use the word, and if you use it correctly or not, and the nice figures of speech that you bring up. I'll comment about it. Thank you. Thanks, Master.
Thank you, sir. Now you all know that our grammarian will be the inspector. Did you get that? Inspector of your language use today.
Just one word that I wanted to add because of the limericks. There was a, that thing about ignominy and the rest of it there. There was a Toastmaster of Bryanston, and I want you to try and get a limerick out of it as a challenge there, which brings in the word spectre. Oh my God. And I'll treat you to a cup of tea if you.
I have tea. The challenge.
That's ignominy for your cup of tea. All right. Now you were all asked to prepare, and now I purposely didn't ask you to introduce yourselves, because you should know each other, or when you came in and you were strange, you should have been greeted properly. So I'm just going to pick on here and there people to give their limericks. So Lynn, please, what is your limerick today?
Yes, Captain. I didn't make it up. I found it.
Good.
Yeah.
Google. I think it's very cool.
Auntie Google is a very good Googler.
A canner, exceedingly canny,
Yeah.
one morning remarked to his granny, a canner can anything that he can, but a canner can't can a can he?
Yeah, what about you? Yes, you. Not the naughty one. I know you just know the naughty ones.
I'm not the naughty one. There once was a lady called Mandy.
Who's
Who
exceedingly
loved-
randy.
No, she was not. She loved to eat cookies and candy. The more that she ate, the less she gained weight. So she still thought that candy was dandy.
We'll move on, but just want to get the ball rolling. There was a lady who triplets begat. Nat, pat, and tat. It was fun breeding, but trouble feeding, because she didn't have a tit for tat. Oh yeah, you can laugh. What's wrong with you? So, we're privileged now to get some Centurion because he can't pronounce it properly, you know who that is. And he's going to do us an educational on body language. So he's given me something to introduce him by. But now, it's fitting that we just talk about him in terms of the following. Because he's got a brother, actually, which you might not know. If we go on the Australian map on the continent, there's a town called Cairns on the eastern board of the Australian continent, and then he's got another brother that stays in Britain near the River Clyde, which says there's a young man from Clyde who once fell down a sewer and died. Along came his brother who fell down another, and now they're interred side by side. So you won't have a spectre there either. All right. Let me introduce our, I don't know how I'm going to say that, our educationalist, Dave. He's given me something to introduce himself by, and you know, when you inflate your own ego like this, then I'll have a lot to talk to with him when I go back. Dave is highly intelligent to the effect that he borders on the brilliant. Where do you get this rubbish? He successfully competed in the World Pinball Championships and the World Paper Airplane Competition. He was a finalist in the Castle Lager Tavern Tour of Europe. He played first team dominoes at high school. He's a member of the Kellogg's Cornflakes Crushers Club. And he's very proud about this one. He met Father Christmas at his workshop in Lapland. But most important, he was voted sexiest man alive by Mad Magazine. That's enough rubbish about this rubbish. I mean, about Dave. So please help me welcome Dave Cairns. And he's going to share with us.
But the second page. Have you just done?
I can use a second page when I want to. Good grief.
Sorry, sir.
Dave, one more cheer from you and you're out.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Please welcome Dave Cairns with an educational on body language.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. We'll talk about you and the trip home as well. You can't talk and drive. Why don't you guys afford a bigger stand? Take a note, Martin. Who's what they call it?
Sergeant.
No, the sergeant. Never blame the sergeant. The guy talks afterwards and sums up the meeting.
Evaluation chair.
That's him. Well, who's he? Who are the sheep?
We didn't finish our role players.
Yeah. Not to worry, we'll find out. We'll tell him about this little lecture.
Just now.
Okay. Yes, sir. Body language. I have a saying, I have quite a few sayings, but I have a particular saying. Image isn't everything. It is everything. Image is body language. Body language is of the utmost importance to the success of your presentation. It starts right at the beginning. The way you walk up, everybody looks at you, your hairstyle, your face, the way you walk, the clothes you are wearing. Everybody's judging you before you've even opened your mouth. You're on the stage, wherever, 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 7 minutes, half an hour. You have to take your body with you. So make it work for you. It's called the power of the first impression. You cannot get a second chance. So make sure that anything on your person is not doing anything funny. Dress yourself properly. Make sure that your wallet is not in your pocket. Make sure, gentlemen, that it's a thick wallet. It is known for a fact that girls do not like fellows with thin wallets. Make sure your cell phone is off and not on you. Nothing worse than a speech when your cell phone goes off on your own speech. What else have we got here? Oh, keys. Don't have keys in your pocket. Make sure that you're looking for nothing that can distract from your speech. Badge comes off. This thing that distract, this thing will shine in somebody's eyes. Oops, well, I found this outside. Yeah, things you put in your pockets. I mean, you can imagine a girl putting it in her shirt, you know. Now she's got 3 of those. A person in one of those. So be very careful what's on you. Check yourself before you get up to talk. Nothing must distract. Power of the first impression. But check yourself before you get on that stage. Well, do you know that 50% of our communication is silent? 50% talk, 50% silence, which is body language. People talk in body language. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Toastmaster, if I'm going to say the words, people know. Who can I pick on? Would you ask me to help me?
Sure.
Women are very good at it. They are absolutely better than men at body language. Will you do me a favour and just twirl your hair and look at me?
Really?
Please.
Okay.
What do I do? We've spoken, you haven't said a word. She said, you okay, David?
You're okay,
I
Dad.
said, you're bad yourself, Dad. Outside. So it's very important that you use that opportunity always to talk with your body language must enhance every word in your speech till the end, from start to beginning to start, one of those. Beginning to end. I'll get it right just there. The facial expressions is body language. Everybody's watching you. They're watching your face with sincerity, harm, anger. How many times have you been watching television? He's lying, you say to yourself. Because his face is not in sync with his words. Facial is of most importance while you're speaking. Because I had a girlfriend once, that's right. Remember those days, some of you older guys, when you had a girlfriend and she knitted you a jersey? When you didn't shave, you didn't have a jersey, and she used to come down to about here somewhere. One sleeve was shorter than the other, but you wore it. And I had a girlfriend, her name was Gail. And she said I was ugly. You know, that hurt me. I had to go for counselling. She had a sister called Storm. I didn't take her out. So facials, very good. What about this thing called eye contact? She has good eye contact. He has good eye contact. Rubbish. If you don't contact your audience with your eyes, the audience won't contact you. You've got good eye contact. That's embarrassing. But you've got to contact your people. If you don't contact your audience with your eyes, they won't contact you. I was saying another one. I, Dave Cairns, contacts my audience. I make contact. We had this guy many years ago, second I said that. There was a place that's still around today called Rauw. Rand Afrikaanse Universiteit. We had this little prof, short guy. And then with the steps when you go up, he said like, I just got it in time one day, got it just in front. And then he used to come into our class and say, morning. He said mornings. It was to all of us. Mornings. Then proceed with his lecture. Talking to the floor. Now bear in mind, anybody of importance, like Bancroft, put their arms behind their backs. So there I was, sitting in the front row. Here he came in, mornings, and off he went. Oh, I had a few of those the night before. So I got him behind him. He stops. What do you want? I said, Prof, what are you looking for? I hope you find it. I wondered why I had to rewrite that here. So body language is everything. Eye contact with your people, eye contact. The things about what I call arms, legs and body, that's not, people think that's all it is to do with body language. Do you know that you must use your hands, keep them here? Some people say, but I can't do that, get used to it. You're only one person, you have an audience out there. Keep your hands here so you can use them properly. Don't do one of these. People do this. Get them here. Or what about this one? Watch the speakers and help them afterwards if the people who are evaluating have missed that. It means you're cold, you want to go to the toilet. So get out of that habit. What about this one? I'm happy talking like this. Too bad. We audience don't want to see it because you're cutting your audience off. Yeah. And do you know that have you been to the bank? They walk like this and go ask to go to the toilet. They don't have toilets clients in the bank. You know that. They keep their money there. I was there one day and I said to the guy, now go to the toilet. Certainly, sir, come this way. Off we went. Got to the front door, he says, go outside, get a taxi, or a bus, or Uber, and go down to the mainland park. Get off there, go right down the passage, go past Woolworths, and here's a toilet. Try it one day. And then he's wearing one of these things. Find it. Bam. There we are. It actually works. Imagine me going home. Hey kid, guess what? I'm a bum. She seriously replied, you're only finding out now. So be careful what you wear. B-U-M equals bum. And they're proud to wear it. Business utility manager, I was told. What else will I tell you about this body language? How we do for time, the timekeeper?
That's so fine.
How much? Okay.
7
Back to the
minutes.
home, to what they bear in mind that 1, 2, 3 girls in a row. Would you all help me with this one?
This way?
This one.
Right? Don't know.
You can do that once while you're talking, ladies. The audience will then wait for the second one. Not your speech, the second time you're going to do that. It's called bad habits. Ah, but this habit, all the weight I've lost. You can do it once, but the audience's attention is drawn to small things. The chicken leg. Walk around, chicken legs, it's called. Don't use chicken legs, just use your hands. Be natural. Don't try and put on anything. What are you doing, sir? See, I noticed that somebody was moving. So you watch your audience at all times. What else about this? Oh yes, when you talk, distraction from body language. Conducting your audience. What for? Put the pen down, always pick it up again. And what about notes? They can distract. You're holding the body away from people. You could be flying a kite. You could be sweeping the floor. Notes distract. Comes under body language. You can use, I still use notes, but keep them away from you. Only time notes is not acceptable if you're doing too much noting. Just leave it there. If you've got a problem, go and look at your notes. I mean, gentlemen, can you imagine who can I ask to help me? Have you ever made an advance to a young lady using notes? Good morning. My name is Dave. What is your name? What is your name? Abrina. Abrina, will you go out with me tonight?
Sorry, what?
Don't you listen either? Will you go out with me tonight?
No thanks.
One day somebody will say yes. What about this approach? Body language. How's it, kid? I mean, well, who's going to shout, the notekeeper or me? Will you go out with me tonight? There we are.
Really likes it.
So very careful of what the notes you can use. Lecterns get in the way. What about short people? Who's short?
Yes.
You've got to use a lectern that's higher than you. Get the sergeant to get you a stand so you can see. Or try and get away from this thing because it affects your body language. 90% of our body language is clothing. Get the clothing right. Any questions? Yes, sir. Where are you from? What's your soccer club?
Liverpool.
Next. Yes, sorry, got a question for you.
Thanks, Dave. My question is around body language and culture.
Yeah.
The fact that we are often in situations or have an audience before us whose interpretation of body language may differ from our own interpretation and understanding of body language. What's your advice around that?
100% correct. Bottom line is, get to know your audience. If I'm going to have a particular brand, I might have to use a bit of body language. I'm young, I'm small, I might be tall. You've got to look at your audience and then adapt to your audience. You've got there to entertain the audience. So you go along with your audience. I'm not being racial now or feminist. I can go to a ladies' luncheon and give a presentation. Roaring success. I can do the same speech at a very tight Toastmasters club. Tight, I mean not that type of tight, but restrained. You tell the same speech, nothing happens. So it's all part of the mix. What do you talk to, who you talk to, as long as you're prepared, but get to know your audience before you go. It'll help a lot. Thank you for that question. Yes, what do you want?
I have a,
She's the boss of the whole show, you know that. Those that are new here, you call her sir, you call her sorry, madam. Yes, Nikki.
no, Mandy's the boss of Brian's Breakfast Club.
Or Lynn.
Sorry. No, the VP is the boss.
Oh,
Yeah, VP is the boss.
cool.
Sorry. Thank you, Dave. So it's not a question, it's a comment on what Hugo has asked. And for those of you who are in the audience who would like to follow in somebody like Dave's footsteps and compete in the World Championship of Public Speaking at an international level, remember that what works here at home or even in Zimbabwe may not work in South Africa, but it also may not work on the international stage. So I think that's really important for people to remember. So culture is critical. And there are a lot of speakers from Southern Africa who have gone to the World Championships with a very African story, and it just doesn't, it falls flat on global audiences.
Thank you for that. There was a lady here, a friend of mine, still is I think, Monique, American girl.
She's in the US.
I went across there, she came and saw me.
You wings are very
No drinks!
Listen, what about this?
Oh, shut up and listen. I'm looking. Anyway, I had a speech about it, some school teacher of mine, I can't remember what it is anymore, and she mentored me. In America, you say, you don't say tackies, you say sneakers. You don't say boarding school, you say military school. The Americans have a different way of accepting things. So I say boarding school over there, they say, where you get bored going to school. They interpret it differently. So yeah, it's very important. Thank you for both of you. Yes, come on, madam, toast, Mr. Who are you?
The boss.
Yeah, sorry, boss.
Jay,
Remember when you see the boss,
I've got two
and
questions.
when you walk backwards when you go out of the room.
I've got two questions, but my first one would be, how important is your stage in body language?
How important. Yeah, I'm on a stage. All I can recommend, thank you, man. I can recommend that you get to, if you're speaking in an audience or a place you haven't been before, go early, check it out. It's okay here. Can I do my body language three steps that way and two more this way? Is there room for it, or am I going to be crammed up? Many years ago, they had a humorous competition or contest in Midmar Dam. Everybody, I was so disappointed in Toastmasters, but they cancelled the humorous contests. That's my personal feeling. No more humorous competitions, because it's going to cost money. So what? If I go there, and I think, yeah, I hear all the noise in the pub. Wow, I'm going to have a few challenges today. Wait, let's check the hall out first. Through the long hall. And I went to the front. We had a stand. Put the pile on this table, small one. I said, I'm going to break my bloody neck if I fall off that thing. There was a guy called David Very. He was a national show jumping judge. He used to judge all the various stands. They were in order. He was involved in Toastmasters in Pietermaritzburg. He went and got one for the hall, a little high, low thing, high, small. And I stood there. I got onto that stand that was high. I paced for at least, what about the beer? Half an hour, pacing that place. Watching the audience. I went there, but I was so comfortable with that stage. By the time the next day came, next speaker, David Cairns, up on the stage. And then I was walking around, I was comfortable. By knowing the stage, my body language at that and walking. And also some of my competitors walking they took their eyes off the audience to look where they were going. So yes, very important to do that. To watch, you know where you're walking. The stage, is it big enough, small enough? Must I stand still? Must I just use facials? Must I not? Things like that. Very important. Thank you.
My next question would be about eye contact.
Yeah.
I think we all struggle a little bit with that, on either moving around the room too quickly, focusing on one side, or depending on your speech.
Sure.
You don't want to really stare at somebody because then they think that you're either mocking them or you may making them feel uncomfortable. What would your recommendation be there?
Did you get any harder than this? Thank you for the question. What do you do with eye contact? I maintain, as I said earlier on, eye contact the audience with me. You can't always contact everybody, but I do believe in when you move, you have to move with a purpose. You don't just move and walk around. You just move with a purpose. And while you're moving, you're watching the audience wherever you go. And back again. Watch the audience. But try not to look down, like the prof did. Just be natural. And if there's a lady in the audience, I shine. No, mate, I used to belong to an all-male club. You weren't allowed to smile there. That's in the wrong chair. But then I joined Centurion and girls there. Wow. No, I'm only joking. You gotta just get your eye contact, even if it's fake. Look towards your audience. But don't do that. They're gone. Because you lose contact with them. Thanks, man. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
And you're gone, lady. Thank you. Yes, sir.
So I think in a stage setting it makes sense, like body language, etc., like how we are moving. If you are sitting in a panel discussion, how do you make your body language very effective to communicate the message?
What panel are you talking about? We're trying to describe.
Panel discussion, like if you're
How many?
like 4 or 5 people in that.
You want to do body language?
Yeah.
Who's your boss? James. No, where do you sit? Is there a round table or a square table?
Just more like if there is a people on the, if there's an audience and you are sitting on a panel discussion, how do you make your body language effective?
Not really much chance for it. Not very much chance for it. Where you sit is very important in body language. Martin's our president, or he's my chairman of my corporate company. Well, how can I recommend? I always sit on his right hand side. I'm his right hand man. And Martin's going to tell you, just do me a favor, Martin, tell him how well I've done this last one. Tell the staff how well they've done. Please, just tell them. Stay seated, stay seated. Stay seated, sit.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome here. I'd like to really commend you on your performance today. You've all done very well.
What am I doing? I'm concurring. Now I want you to give him a bit of a black news. I don't like what happened this last month. I'm sitting next to you.
Well, besides all that, there is a brickbat I must share with you. There's a spectre that appeared amongst us. And I'm very annoyed about it.
There we go. Thanks, Martin. You see what I mean? The body language counts. I'm agreeing with him. When he's good, when I'm not involved anymore with that statement he's making. It's difficult to make a body language depending where you sit. I never sit, ever, facing the chairman. That's the place to put him under threat. So I sit out the way. Careful where you sit. How can you make body language and you've got an audience? I would say, make sure you dress smartly. Don't show too much leg, that's for the girls. And smile a lot. And be complimentary. Just got to play it by ear a bit, but not much space for body language. Thank you.
May I add something?
You may add something.
Thank you, Dave. So if you're part of a panel where you, like 4 or 5 of you at the front of a large audience, you may not necessarily agree with some of the commentary that is being made. You may not necessarily agree with what one of your fellow panelists says. Be very, very careful. Because when you hear something that he says, oh no, I think Trump should remain the president for life, then you may disagree with that and go immediately, like close your arms or something. Try as a panelist to always remain open and neutral, because essentially people are there to listen to a variety of views. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. I have a saying, many sayings I always say. Be careful what you say as a speaker. Be careful who speaks after you. Because if you heard that speaker or trying to run him down, rather remain silent. Because I make a remark about Martin, he speaks after me. He's going to put me down. That's only natural in business. How's our time as the timekeeper?
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, well, I struggle a lot with
You struggle?
eye contact.
Okay, why?
On one-on-one conversations, I don't know how to keep eye contact or like look into the person's face. I don't know the etiquette around it. I know that there is keeping eye contact, but
Don't stare. The question is, what do I do? Don't stare at somebody. Just remain. And I would just. Yeah, true. How do you chat? Are you married?
no.
Good show. How do you chat up a lady? Eye contact. Hello, my name is Jones. Or do you say, hello, my name is Jones? Just be natural. Smile a lot. Look at somebody with sincerity. You answer your question? Don't struggle with it ever again. As from this very moment, you will not struggle with eye contact again. What's your soccer club?
I don't know, man.
Dave, can I interject?
Yes, sir.
So, a number of times you've said, be natural. Natural is relative, right?
You.
So
Be
when, we,
different.
so when we talk about cultural, there's certain societies where you don't look a woman, you don't
Correct.
look your superior
Right.
straight in the face for whatever reason, right? So I think we might need a little bit more than natural. We might need, what is the standard for Toastmasters?
Yeah.
We can then subtract or add from that.
Yes. Going back to our earlier conversation, know your audience. Culture. Yeah. What are you going to talk about? You don't know what soccer is, so must I talk about soccer?
I do know what I just don't know.
I'm saying, but you must get to some idea about your audience. When I went into hours of deep thought and pondering about this morning's talk, how am I going to go down? What was I saying? My teeth might fall out. And you get together. When I arrived here this morning, I was here and checked the stage out. Met everybody with nice friendship. Getting friendship and warmth from the club helps the speaker a lot, man. I'm okay with you. On culture, I go with that. All different. Like the boss lady here, she goes to various clubs. We still do the same Toastmaster stuff. Culture, each club. Some clubs don't allow chirps. We do at our club. If you chirp somebody, be careful who you chirp, because they might speak after you. But if you're doing a presentation and somebody chirps me, the audience laughs. What a pleasure. Why don't you laugh at somebody? The trick is, can you answer that person back? Get another laugh without putting them down. So don't be scared. Don't over chirp. Occasional chirp is quite a few minutes. I've been to Toastmasters clubs where there will be no chirping here this morning. We might come this guy. We're going to have a few laughs at Toastmasters. We're here to enjoy ourselves. Some people, where are you?
8 minutes.
8 minutes left.
Okay, that's my time now.
Okay, Toastmasters cities are
No.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Just about the stage, I believe there's a standard that you shouldn't walk past the front of the stage, and it's kind of built like a triangle. That's your area that you can work on the stage. Why is that the standard as a triangle? Because I can see you standing pretty close to the edge.
Yeah, closer to you. You don't stand inside here, you know that.
Yeah.
Because you're cutting off the audience. If you enter a competition, they like all the competitors to be even. So you'll get a briefing from the whoever he might be or she. Judge will say, this is your area to speak. From this table to that table. Not in front. It's a guideline, so everybody's got the idea. So you might, if a person goes into the middle of the stage, the judges will be aware of it. You don't get disqualified. They'll actually count against you. So you try and stay in the area, even backwards, where they give you. So you as a competitor must know your stage. And that's what the guidelines are. Let it be a triangle or a circle, doesn't really matter. That's a guideline for everybody that's taking part here to be in that particular space. Thank you. Thank you very much, folks.
Right, while Dave's packing up and so we can keep to our time, I just want to share with you what Dave really achieved so far. Well, I've got him to share. Thank you. He has been the past president of our Toastmasters Club at Centurion. You might have noticed he's very proud to wear his distinguished Toastmaster gong.
What are one of those little grapple things?
He's taken part in quite a few contests in the district, and he was placed 3 times in South African humorous contests, so you could share on that. Thanks, David.
Thanks.
He placed 2nd, 4 times in the English prepared contest in the division, in the district, and then also represented South Africa at Las Vegas as a contestant, where he was placed 3rd in the semi-finals, and that was the English prepared. And of course his motto is don't give up on your dreams, and as you get to know him, you realize that that is a very apt motto in his life. So thank you, Dave, very much for that.
Thanks, Martin.
And then of course we also got another role player here tonight, which is the R counter. And that happens to be Hugo. Now there might be a little bit of a spectre here somewhere in this limerick regarding him. A silly young man from Clyde in a funeral procession was spied. When asked who is dead, he giggled and said, I don't know, I just came for the ride. What an audience. You see, you've got to know the audience and the culture. They don't laugh at this point.
If you look in the door, it says no laughing here.
Please a share. You go.
There was a young man from Elora who married a girl called Lenora. But he had not wed very long till he said, "Oh, drat it, I've married a snorer." Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters visitors, ladies and gentlemen, I have the simple task of listening to all the speakers and making notes of words and sounds used as pause fillers, used too often or repeated consecutively by anyone who speaks during the meeting, such as and, well, so you know. So essentially that's what I'm looking out for, and I'd urge you to pause, slow down to avoid and so on. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Hugo. Anay knows a lady named Lynn, who is so uncommonly thin that when she essayed to drink lemonade, she slipped through the straw and fell in. Want another one? Okay. This is for the ladies. Understand, I just finished a book. It's called Men Are From Mars, Ladies Are From Venus. And there's a parody on that. Now it says, women are from bras and men are from penis. That's not naughty. Come on, man. But listen to this. An elderly bride of Port Jervis was quite understandably nervous, since her apple-cheeked groom, with 3 wives in the tomb, kept insuring her through the service. I understand this better in Pretoria. Julle mense hier aan hierdie kant van die boerewaasgordyn, ek ken julle nie. Oh my goodness.
Some of us are still teenagers.
Yes, you sir, you can now entertain us with your limerick. I'm sure, Harold, you did prepare.
This is for Adrian. He was a Toastmaster from Bryanston. He faced the spectre of evaluation. He thought the evaluator was an alligator, but it was just introspection.
Well done. I'm going to refer you to the agenda. It says at 10:15 we've got a quick break. It's called a pee break or a comfort break, whatever you want to break. It should start in 2 minutes time, and I'm going to give you a bit of extra time because you've got to walk around the passage around this way. So please make sure you're back here by 10:20. Thank you. We have a short break. This thing is miles to hide out. Dina probably was with it. All right. We're now moving on. And one of the wonderful things, or one of the wonderful parts rather, of the Toastmaster meeting is then to hear people who've really taken it to heart, start preparing and presenting their speeches. Then later on, we'll get the people who are doing the evaluations of those speeches. Thank you for the evaluators as well. But before we move on, that lovely lady sitting right next to Harold, what's your limerick, please?
Mr. Toastmaster, ever since I got the mail and finding a limerick, it's been quite a spectre for me. Oh,
And I needed to find the right limerick, so I decided to find a limerick about a limerick. Here it goes. No matter how grouchy you're feeling, you'll find that a limerick is healing. It grows like a wreath all around the front teeth, thus preserving the face from congealing.
Right, we thought you had been ghosting Mr. Grammarian. Thanks for returning. Right. Our prepared speeches, we've got 3 of them tonight, this evening, or this morning, this afternoon, whatever your feeling would be regarding the time frame. Right, we have a lovely lady called Mandy. I must share this with you. Mandy today is a girl with some class. She has a magnificent ass. Not round and pink as you might think. It's got grey hairs, long ears, and eats grass. So when Mandy comes out, don't look at the grass. I mean, bugger. We're very privileged to have Mandy coming out. It's your VPE of your club as well. And I'm pleased to say that she's also busy with her Pathways program. That's something good. Everybody should get stuck into it these days. So well done for that. And she's doing an icebreaker, and the title of the icebreaker is This Is Me. I want to challenge you. Somewhere in her speech, there's also a limerick. See if you can pick it up. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Toastmasters, visitors, friends and others, please help me welcome Mandy Murray with her speech, This Is Me. And before that gets done, gotcha! Before it gets done, we have the evaluator. It happens to be Abrina. Where are you? Sitting there. Hello, babe. What you doing tonight? Please give us the criteria for Mandy's speech.
Definitely. The purpose of Mandy's speech is for her to introduce herself to the club and to learn the basic structure of a public speech. And in her speech, it's going to be a weekday in the life of Mandy.
Where do you want the victor?
Oh, wait.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, once again, a warm applause for Mandy with This Is Me. Far away. Far enough?
Thank you. A day in the life of Mandy. Sorry, I need to compose myself. Dave has thrown me off. Shall start again. A day in the life of Mandy is where I'm going to take thee. An icebreaker I must do to give you a slight preview. Sit back and enjoy. This is me. Mr. Toastmaster, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. 4:30, the alarm goes off. I wake up and I say, thank you, God, for another day. I meditate for 20 minutes and I jump into the shower. After the shower, While applying my makeup, I listen to positive affirmations. Finding the time and taking care of my emotional, spiritual, and mental wellness is important. This is me. My beautiful daughters wake up and get ready for school. Tennille is 11 and Tamlin is 9. Our mornings are calm and peaceful. Most of our preparation has been done the night before. Looking good makes me feel fantastic. I plan my outfits carefully. I accessorize with jewelry. I make an effort with my hairstyle. Organization, peace and glamour. This is me. At 6:45 a.m. we leave the house and stop at the Seattle coffee shop en route. A decent cup of coffee to kickstart the day and being punctual. This is me. My children go to my old primary school. It has a fantastic drop and go. I park my car and walk them to class. That way I get to see the boy that they're crushing on, or the girl that they fought with yesterday, and their best friends. I am up to date, connected, and a cool mom for now. I head off to work. I'm in sales. I'm on the road all day. Every day is different. Every customer is different. I'm the therapist, the friend, the punch bag, the supplier, the coach. Most days I feel like an unhinged chameleon. But people, sales, communication, this is me. Time flies in the life of a single working mother, and soon it's time to fetch the children from school. The next hour is dedicated to homework. I know their favorite subjects. I know where they're struggling. I help them with their projects. I'm hands-on, in the know, and involved. This is me. After homework, we normally go to yoga, Pilates, or for a walk in the park. Fresh air, exercise, health. This is me. After a shower, we all beeline for the kitchen. The music's blaring in the back. We're singing and dancing while preparing a delicious vegetarian meal. It's summer now, so we like to eat outside on the patio. No phones or music are allowed at the table. We talk, we laugh, we bond. Healthy food, family, laughter, music. This is me. When our food is settled, we start our nighttime routine. We have a rule. I take care of their hair and their teeth at night, and they take care of that in the morning. So when the brushing and the flossing is done, we lie on my bed and read a story. We're currently reading Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. After a chapter, they go off to bed. With prayers, hugs, and kisses under their belts, they drift off to sleep. Hugging, prayers, reading, this is me. Finally, it's me time. I lock up the house, grab a glass of water, and go to my bedroom. I play my 7 brain games, I read a couple of pages of my book, and I pick up my Grateful Rock that is next to me on my side of my bed. And I think about my entire day and all that I'm grateful for. And I say, thank you, thank you, thank you. I turn off the lights and I go to sleep. Gratitude, brain games, pajamas, sleep. This is me. Every day, every weekday is routine and structured. But within that weave of consistency, I am loving and living my life. This is me.
Hooray! That's not you. That was me. Right, we can move on. Let's entertain you some more. A nifty young flapper named Jane was walking and was caught in the rain. She ran, almost flew. Her complexion did too. And she reached home exceedingly plain. That's why I understand the people from Bryanston didn't appreciate the movie or the play My Fair Lady. Because in the libretto it says the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain, not the filter cigarette. Okay, we're now moving on. We've got another speech. Well done for that. Also from Pathways. And Harold is the evaluator for the speech we're going to have presented by Tanya. Please give us the criteria, sir.
Certainly, Mr. Toastmaster. Tanya will be speaking from the Pathways Manual as well, Presentation Mastery, and it's the second time she's doing this speech, and the idea is for her to use the suggestions from the previous evaluation and put them into practice now. She will be speaking for 5 to 7 minutes, and it will be the same speech that she did before.
Thank you, Harold. Now before Tanya comes up, here's a limerick especially for her. Tanya once wore a newspaper dress to a ball. The dress caught on fire and burnt her entire. Front page, sports section and all.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, once again, put your hands together and welcome Tanya Langbeen with the speech 3, 2, 1, cut!
My heart is racing. 2, the adrenaline is pumping. 1, the room starts to spin and disappears. Media Training Day. We've been asked to gather for a full day event. In the morning, we understand that we will be doing theory, followed by some exercises. And then in the afternoon, we believe we're going to be doing practicals. Now these practicals worry me a little bit because they sound like impromptus and they are a spectre for my mind, as I fear them enormously. The day begins, 6 executives are sitting in the boardroom. We are introduced to the head of public relations from the UK. She sits down and she starts talking. And all she is doing is talking. I look around. There is no paper. There is no word of theory. There are no exercises. All we have is talking. But every now and then, she does something like this. She goes, I cannot wait for this afternoon. I cannot wait for you to meet Johnny. Johnny is unbelievable. And then she starts talking about more and more theory. But again, she does it. It's almost lunchtime. Johnny is going to be here. Johnny is unbelievable. Johnny is going to mow you guys down. He is the best journalist in the country. I am so excited that Johnny's going to be here. I am starting to fear Johnny enormously. It's lunchtime. We go out of the boardroom, we step outside, and they have prepared for us a finger lunch. Ahead of in front of the area where the finger lunch is a massive sliding door. I look up, as I hear the door open. And in walks little Johnny. Behind him are two strapping lads, massive camera equipment on their shoulders, lighting equipment. They stride past us. They don't look at us. They do not say hello. There is no form of greeting whatsoever. They go into the boardroom, and immediately I can hear the boardroom is being reshuffled. I am well aware of the Toastmaster technique called preview the area from which you are speaking, as Dave made mention of earlier. So I go to the boardroom door, I crack it open about this much. I peer inside. There is no Johnny. He has disappeared. But in the corner are the two strapping lads, massive camera equipment, is beaming down a huge chair. And in front of the huge chair is this little chair. Clearly, that is where I'm going to be sitting. I go up to the chaps and I say, do you mind if I sit in the chair just to get a feel for what it's like? I sit in the chair and the heat from the lighting is so intense. It's hard to explain. It is hot, it is overbearing, you just feel so uncomfortable. So I look at the two and I say, is there any other way to do the lighting? They look at me and with a smile on their faces, and they say, yes, we can flip them up. The light will then bounce off the ceiling and come down. So I say, let's try that. They flip it up. It is instant relief, but I promise you it is still incredibly uncomfortable in that little chair. I've done the best I can in terms of previewing. There's nothing more to do. So I return to my fellow colleagues outside, where we're having the finger lunch. Johnny is back. I get there, and all I hear is Johnny boom, his voice. Come guys, it's time. Let's go inside, let's go to the boardroom, and let's start the afternoon. He strides to the boardroom. He goes immediately to the big chair, and as he sits down, he flips the lights back down on the little chair. I could only try. We are settling in the boardroom, and I hear Johnny's booming voice again. Tanya, come, you're up. Let's get going. I sit down in the little white chair. I'm looking at Johnny, and from behind, I hear 3. My heart starts racing. 2, the adrenaline is pumping. 1, the room starts to spin and disappears, and all I can see is Johnny. Johnny looks at me. He says, good morning, Tanya. I say, good morning, Johnny. He says, please take a minute to introduce yourself and tell us what it is you do for the organization. I've done this before. It's like an elevator pitch. I'm feeling comfortable. I know the biggest thing is not to use very technical words. I'm talking, I think I've got this right, I think I'm at about a minute. I look at Johnny, he says, thank you, Tanya. I say, thank you, Johnny, and I bounce out of the chair, and I hear Johnny, Tanya, you sit back in that chair. You do not get out of that chair until I tell you so. I sheepishly sit back in the chair. And from behind Johnny, I hear, cut! I'm dismissed. I leave the area, the rest of my colleagues complete the exercise, and then I hear it again. Tanya, come. Round number 2, sit down. This is 10 to 15 minutes of intense interrogation. I sit down, and from behind Johnny, I hear it again. 3, 2, 1. It's happening all over again. Johnny starts asking me questions. They are very intense. What he does, which I found incredibly interesting, is he circles and often goes back to the same question using different words. I'm desperately digging into Toastmaster techniques for impromptu speaking, and I remember 1, past, present, future. So as he asked me a question, I talk to the past, I acknowledge the issues, the concerns that are around the topic. I speak to the present and what we are currently doing to improve the situation. And then I speak to the future optimistically. And it seems to be working. He keeps going at me. Time is passing. He keeps going at me. But the technique is working. I suddenly sense that Johnny is getting ready to wrap up. He looks at me. He says, thank you, Tanya. I look at him and I say, thank you, Johnny. and I freeze. Cut! I made it. So who would have known on that day that the numbers 3, 2, 1 would cause such fear and anxiety in me? And who would have known that the word cut would bring such relief?
Thank you, Tanya. Now, I must admit, I did slip up earlier today. You know, it's task of the Toastmaster to make sure that you pronounce people's names properly, surnames, especially with all the different cultures today. But your surname is Langbeen.
Langbeen.
You've heard it how many times?
And I don't have long legs.
I'm a leg man, I'll comment on that.
All right. Again, on pathways. That's wonderful. So you should be moving forward on your awards for this club with pathways. Wonderful. So now we've got a very interesting speech by a certain man, Ewan. One Saturday morning at 3. Here we go. Owen was on tour in Cape Town. A cheesemonger shop collapsed to the ground with a thunderous sound, leaving only a pile of brie. Right. His evaluator is Anay, who is going to be listening to the Cape Marie man with his story, but please give us the criteria for his speech.
He will be talking from the Advanced Communication series. His executive summary is: storytellers can be historians using their talents to tell the world about the events that shaped it. Stories about the knights of the Round Table, battles, explorers, and leaders are as interesting today as they were many years ago. When telling a historical story, narrow it to one event and make sure it has a plot, conflict, characters, setting, and action. The objective is to understand the purpose of stories about historical events or people, and to use the storytelling skills which he has developed in the preceding projects to tell a story about a historical event or person. Good luck.
Thank you. Now we're privileged to have Monsieur Kelly from Cape Marie to entertain us with his speech on Roald and Amundsen. Roald Amundsen.
Get on my skis in a moment.
Yeah, do you need a chair? Would you like a chair?
No, I'm fine, thank you. The date is the 17th of January 1912. Sorry? Oh. Captain Robert Falcon Scott and his party have just reached the South Pole. And this is after a grueling trek. The round trip from Scott's Base on the ice shelf up to the South Pole is approximately 1,500 miles. Now, Scott tried to use motorized sledges, but you can imagine in 1912 the internal combustion engine isn't what it is now. It certainly wasn't designed for Arctic conditions in those days. He ordered or bought Manchurian ponies to pull the sledges as well. They weren't up to it. And being a dog lover, he had dogs there, but he wouldn't use them. So he and his crew on their skis pulled their heavy sledges over thick snow, up hills, across the Redmore Glacier, across the Antarctic Plateau, and they eventually got to the South Pole. But disappointment, what did they find at the South Pole? The Norwegian flag. They had been beaten. There were also evidence there had been lots of dogs there. Well, what Scott did, naturally, he'd used his sextant to take sights on the sun to confirm they were at the South Pole. Now, the chap who had beaten him, he didn't play fair. This was Roald Amundsen, the Scandinavian. Roald was born first of all, he got there on the 14th of December 1911, a full month before Scott did. Roald Amundsen was born in the town of Borge in Norway. His father, Jens Amundsen, was a sea captain who owned his own ship and therefore had obviously a very wealthy man. And Roald grew up in an atmosphere of seafaring, bracket Viking, where he knew all about navigation and seamanship, that sort of thing. His mother actually wanted him to become a doctor. And believe it or not, at the age of 15, he started studying medicine. I don't know whether he ever succeeded. I don't know. But between 1903 and 1906, he led a privately sponsored expedition to sail across the Northwest Passage in a tiny boat called I'll try and pronounce it in Norwegian, Gjoa. He succeeded in doing this, and today the Northwest Passage, thanks to climate change and the ice breaking up, is used by big shipping companies as a shortcut between the Pacific and the Atlantic Oceans. So thank you to Roald for that. He was the first person to actually visit both poles, North Pole and South Pole. In 1926, he and a party are acknowledged as being the first people to actually reach the North Pole. Now, the North Pole is totally different from the South Pole. There's no land under the ice cap there. It's floating on the ocean, and it's always changing its position. So, very difficult to actually determine where you are. He also, now even a more difficult project was to determine where the North Magnetic Pole was. Now, if anyone studied navigation, you know the magnetic poles never stay in the one place the whole time. If you look at the navigation chart, there are lines across it, and these are called isogonals, lines of equal magnetic variation. So I don't know how he decided where he's going to find the North Magnetic Pole, but evidently he did. Then, that was in 1926. He was also, sorry, I've lost it. No. Gone out of my mind. Sorry, people. I've cut it.
Make another name up.
Yeah, no.
1926.
1926, yeah.
That's where you ended.
Yeah. That's when he found the North Pole. 1926. He was also the first person to fly over the poles in an aircraft. And unfortunately, he died in 1928, also in an aircraft. What he was doing, he tried to get to the Arctic again to try and rescue the crew of an Italian airship, the Italia, which had come down in the North Pole. But unfortunately, the aircraft he was in crashed. Now today, the magnificent Norwegian coastal shipping company, Hurtigruten, have honoured Amundsen by naming one of his ships, naming one of their ships after a ship of his, the Fram. I've seen the Fram in Reykjavik, beautiful little ship. It's a tour ship. There's a big difference between a tour ship and a tourist liner. If you're a herd animal, you go on a tourist liner with thousands of other people, with casinos, restaurants, pubs, all that sort of thing. If you're like me, an individual animal, you'll go on a ship like the Fram, where there are just a few hundred people, and you'll be entertained by scientists, ecologists, experts on where they're taking you. Hurtigruten are building 2 more ships, I believe, in honor of Arctic explorers. The one's going to be called Roald Amundsen, and the other one's going to be called Fridtjof Nansen. Madam Toastmaster, Mr. Toastmaster.
I can understand you're getting confused. Because I'm a little prairie flower, growing wilder every hour. Nobody cares to cultivate me, because I'm as wild can be. Ah, jeez. First place, I tell you.
Well said, Madam Toastmaster.
Alright, that's a special limerick just for someone over here. I'd rather have fingers than toes. I'd rather have ears than a nose. And as for my hair, I'm glad it's all there. I'll be awfully sad when it goes. According to the agenda, we have now our timekeeper's report. So Fortune, please share with us.
Thank you. So for Mandy, her speech was 4 to 6 minutes, and she did 5 minutes 29 seconds. For Tanya, it was a 5 to 7 minutes speech, and she did 7 minutes 17 seconds. And for Ian, his was 7 to 9 minutes. He did 7 minutes 25 seconds.
Thank you, Gordon. Then we have come to the stage where you have got your voting slips there for the speeches. Please complete that. And then our sergeant at arms will be collecting that in the meantime. Also, your suggestions you might have at this stage for the mug award, mug of the day, you can also hand it in to him, and those all go to you. Okay, for some of us who are young at heart, sometimes now with this new technology called chat rooms, who's been in a chat room? Over here. No one. Have you? Chat room, yeah. Okay, be careful. But here's a limerick about that as well. I met her in a chat. She was neat. The photo was pretty. She was petite. We then met for a meal, and I saw her for real. Then I screamed and ran down the street. So be careful of chat rooms, you don't really get what you think you're going to get. Hamza, how are you doing, sir? Are we waiting for him? There once was a young man called Kyle, named Kyle, who worked in the circus for a while. Flew through the air without any care. And that's when they found him in a pile. Hands up. Mr. Sergeant at Arms. Why do you ignore me? Yeah.
Because your limerick
My
is so
image.
bad.
There's so many reasons.
Doesn't my body language tell you something? I did not do that right. Right. Now we're privileged with another break. The evaluators are going to convene, and in the meantime we can look for some more coffee or just chat with each other, network a little bit, and we will be called back to order at 11:05. Thank you.
No, you didn't, man.
But you know what?
No, I wouldn't touch mine. I don't know why.
Yeah, by the way.
Damn it! You see, that's what you must do. You've got a very quiet sergeant at arms, and you must please listen to him. But you come together while we're still waiting for the evaluators, so we can use some more time listening to how you prepared your own limericks. So let's have some fun and games. Yeah, some more. The man who was so concerned about culture and eye contact. Please give your limerick.
I don't know. I'm a visitor, just like
So you can make up one.
I don't know, I don't know.
All right, let's hear yours.
Well, just like him as well, I'm not a visitor, but I didn't prepare anything.
Good.
But I've just Googled now and I've just found something that I'm just going to read out. Okay, but somebody, I thought Jeff wanted to say something. Okay, he's not. There was a young lady of Nice who insisted on bathing in Greece. She slid through the house, tormenting her spouse, till he hid in the oven for peace.
All right. Cut.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
I came home really late last night and didn't know anything about this.
Doesn't laugh, it's slight.
I was doing this out of town. I'll try to Google something, but you have to come back to me. Sorry.
I've got one.
Okay. Then yours?
Hello.
You got one?
Think of one.
All right, think of one, just not the naughty one.
There's a hand up this side.
Well, there was a Toastmaster from Bryanston who thought life was all about a brainstorm.
All right, thank you. You're missing 3 lines though.
A patient who kept getting worse cried out, "I must go home now, nurse. You've done all your best and performed every test, but I've come to the end of my purse."
That's National Health Service. Yeah, you're Googling, I can see.
Okay, I'll just say something that I've Googled. I actually don't know what a limerick is. I'm also a guest, but well, a visitor, right? So I'm just going to share this. A hen in Reading. A hen who resided in Reading attended a gentleman's wedding. As she walked up the aisle, the guest had to smile, in spite of the tears they were shedding.
Oh, there was a spectre named Gail who would attend Toastmasters without fail. And on her behind, for the sake of the blind, was the same information in Braille. There was a young woman named Bright, whose speed was much faster than light. She set out one day in a relative way and returned the previous night. There is the scientists amongst us. They might enjoy that.
He's counting.
Now, where's the men? Let me just see if I can remember this one.
Oh, yeah.
There was an old man of Nantucket. So some ladies also know this one. There was an old man of Nantucket who kept all his cash in a bucket. But his daughter, named Nan, ran away with a man. And as for the bucket, Nantucket. Conscious, eh?
I'm impressed.
This is an old one. I'm sure most of you will remember this. You must have read it somewhere. There was a young lady from Niger who smiled as she rode on a tiger. They came back from the ride with the lady inside.
And the
smile
on the face of the tiger.
Do yourself a favour. All these limericks started in the early 1800s There was a gentleman named Edmund Lear. And he got bored listening to all these nursery rhymes and poetry. And he started writing a lot of nonsense. And he's actually the one that also wrote the rhyme about the owl and the pussycat went to sea in the big green boats. Can you remember that from school days? Yeah. So there's some beautiful things there to read as well. A lot of nonsense, but when you go into it, it's very creative. Yeah. This is me. As a beauty, I'm not a star. There are others more handsome by far. But my face, I don't mind it, because I'm behind it. It's the people in front that I jar.
I have a naughty one.
Oh, yeah, baby.
On the stage, Kate.
You can't ever give a naughty one.
Must we censor it?
No.
The thoughts of the rabbit on sex are seldom, if ever, complex. For a rabbit in need is a rabbit indeed, and does just as a person expects.
Again?
Again.
And again?
Again.
Again?
Yes, please.
Really? Did you like it?
Yes,
Okay.
no,
But you must just remember, sex is complex.
Okay, so when I finish the word sex, you must focus on the rest of the
Okay,
the
okay.
word. Okay. You, okay. The thoughts of the rabbit on sex, focus, are seldom, if ever, complex. For a rabbit in need is a rabbit indeed, and does just as a person expects.
Got it. I missed the first bit with the word sex in it.
We got that bit and missed everything else.
And again.
You've lost them.
Okay. I love tongue twisters as well. You can try that sometime. And spoonerisms, all these lovely crematorial
What's a spoonerism?
beauties.
What's a spoonerism?
It's when
Cinderella.
Well, I can tell you the story about Cinderella, but I call it Rendicilla.
Ah.
Offended.
Alright. A canny young fisher named Fisher once fished from the edge of a fisher. A fish with a grin pulled the fisherman in. Now they're fishing the fisher for fisher. Was that too quick again for Bronson? But you know, this place.
Yeah, but you're not coming here anyway.
But this is for the vegans and the vegetarians especially. There was a young lady from Hyde who ate a green apple and died. While her lover lamented, the apple fermented and made cider inside her, inside. Stay away from green apples.
Apple drop the
Don't
fall
be-
from the tree.
We're now privileged to have our evaluators back, and our head evaluator will now run the session for us. So please help me welcome Mr. Harold Robinson.
I'll get it.
I dropped it like it.
No, I'm worried that you were going to stay now.
Oh, okay, you can show me how to do that.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello. Good morning.
Mr. Toastmaster. Well, thank you for having us as evaluators, the alligators. This is where we give feedback on the speeches that we heard this morning. And when you thought there was nothing else that the speaker could do, that they were so good, This is where we, the evaluators, prove that you can improve on anything that you can still, that you do. Good. We had 3 speakers today, and they were Mandy, Tanya, and Johan. And to evaluate the speech of our first speaker, Mandy, please welcome Abrina.
Thank you, Harold. This is the only time that I'm allowed to use notes, and I'm going to use them. Okay. Thank you, Mandy, for that speech. It was very engaging, and thank you for telling a story about yourself, which told a story about single parenting, which is not told as often as it should. So thank you for that. We thought that the way you started your speech was engaging in that you kept quiet, the silence in the beginning, and that got our attention and everybody's attention in terms of what is she going to say next. So that was good, and you used body language effectively. You were saying in the morning you woke up. As you wake up, you had your eyes closed and then open. So that is listening to Dave. It showed that you did pay attention in terms of body language, and you were very detailed in describing everything that you do. So you said you love accessorizing. As you were saying that, you said, I love accessorizing. And then you said, I park my car. Then you used the stage, you moved this side when you said, I park my car. And you described what you do at school. And then you moved this side as you go to work. So you used the stage to your advantage. The other thing that you did good was you engaged with the audience in terms of describing your day. And you said, when I cook my vegetarian meal, you even got a giggle from some of the members here, which I thought that worked very well in engaging the audience. The suggestions that we have is, in terms of improvement, you were nodding your head a lot. And that looked like you were doing it unconsciously. So I don't know if you felt we were not believing you, but we do believe you. So you don't need to do that. And with eye contact as well, you did engage this side and you moved very fast, and mostly you were focusing on the left. So maybe you could improve on that. And then the last thing that you could improve on is, we felt you said this is me a lot in the speech. So it became repetitive. Maybe you could vary it. You could say, this is Mandy, or this is Mama. So you could vary. Dave is saying this is Gogo. Maybe that will work. But overall, I think you achieved your objective, and you dressed the part and you look great. So that is fantastic. Thank you for that.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Abrina's first evaluation of Tanya did the speech the second time, and she was quite nervous about doing it the second time. And I remember the first time when I repeated a speech, I was also very nervous because you get this feeling that there's people in this audience who've heard this speech before. And I don't know why you're worried about that. Maybe you think that they're going to notice that you've forgotten something. But when you start doing competition and you start going up levels, you'll find that that fear goes away because you have to repeat those speeches. Tanya, I just loved your story. That storytelling was fantastic. And you have a natural storytelling ability, that's clear to me. And speaking from personal experience helps as well. And I think that was the strength of your story, was that you were speaking about personal experience that you had. And you relived that whole situation very well. You were worried about your body language and you were worried about your swaying, which was picked up last time. I didn't pick it up at all, and nor did the other evaluators. In fact, your body language was extremely strong and active. What?
It was basically sexy.
He's nuts. I know. I was about to say the peanut gallery has spoken.
Yeah.
So, anyway, before that rude interruption, thank you, Dave. Suggestions? You spoke very fast.
Yeah.
And I can understand why. Your time was 7:19, so you have to get it in. So you might need to reduce the speech a bit to give you an opportunity just to use pauses and drama. So for example, when you described Johnny walking in with his camera guys, you carried on speaking, said he didn't even see us. So you could have paused and said, here they walked in. And they didn't even see us. So that could be a bit of drama that you add to it. And I think also, just in terms of a message for the audience, you did mention you had to use your Toastmasters impromptu speaking abilities. And maybe at the end you could have said, or towards the end said, take your impromptu seriously because it can help you in a situation like that. If that was a message that you felt you could have given us.
Yeah.
But overall, really well done. I loved your description of Johnny. It just came across very well, and everybody could just see this little Napoleon, or whatever you want to call him, what he was like. Very well described, and the whole speech went very well. Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
I see I caught the timekeeper out. I started before he realized that. Our next speaker was Johan, and to evaluate his speech, please welcome Anne.
Johan, I was quite honoured when Mandy asked me to be the evaluator on your speech, because you're up there, I'm on level 2. And I hope that I can give your speech the justice which it deserves, because it was really amazing. You chose a really interesting topic, and I would like to commend you on that, because it's not always easy to choose a topic that you can talk about. Not only was it very interesting, it was also really educational, because I don't know about you guys, but I did not know that the North Pole moves around and that it's not on there. Thank you for that. You used your body language really effectively because I could picture the way you were carrying the sled character. That was really, really well done. And then we also wanted to commend you for using no notes because you called out a lot of characters' names and you mentioned many heights as well, and that was really impressive. So you got stuck one time, but you picked up quite quickly when I just gave you that one clue. So really well done for the way that you composed yourself after that hiccup.
Thank you.
The points we want to make you aware of that you could work on. We felt that you had too many stories. You could have chosen one or two points and built on that. You also could have told us why Roald Edmondson got there before Scott, because it was a very interesting story. One more point which we want to call out is that you could work on your pitch of voice, because I've heard you talk lots in the past. We believe that it was because your speech was too memorized.
Okay.
And that you did not use enough pauses.
Right.
So it became a little bit boring, and it was only because of the pitch of your voice. You fulfilled the objective of your task really, really well, and you told us an amazing story. Thank you for sharing this knowledge with us and for teaching me that the North Pole is around. Thank you.
And thank you. Yeah. And I think very well done, May, for rescuing Joan during the tour.
Yes.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, I don't need to do an evaluation of Dave's, except to say, I just love that we pulled out a tennis ball. I've been wondering what that bloody
Found it outside here. There was a kid looking for a ball there.
Just saying. The kid was crying for a long time.
I tell you what, they mustn't hit it over the fence.
No.
That's kind of
Must keep us.
Thank you very much for the education session. I think we all learned a lot from that. Very well done. Mr. Timekeeper, why is that light on now? Thank you. Helping us in the... shall I do the grammarian? Just the grammarian and the timekeeper's report. Shall I do that? Is that why the light was on, to remind me?
To say yes.
Fortune, can you tell us the times of the evaluations, please?
Okay. So the expected duration for evaluation is 2 to 3 minutes. Abrina did 3 minutes 43 seconds. Harold caught me off guard, so he started before I could record, but I recorded 2 minutes 30 seconds.
I used up his time.
And Anne did 4 minutes 25 seconds. Thank you.
The lady's evaluations were more thorough than mine. Thank you very much, Fortune. We also had a grammarian report, which Adrian will give us. Please, Adrian, would you come up here?
Yes, I'll come up there. Thank you very much, Harold. Mr. Postmaster, I really enjoyed my role as the grammarian there. And first of all, I'd like to talk about the word of the day, spectre. How many did we get? 3 or 4 from you, Martin. I was very impressed. But the prize really has to go to my friend over there, Harold, who actually had a limerick especially for me. Can I read it?
Again, yeah.
Where was it? There was a toastmaster at Bryanston who faced the spectre of evaluation. He thought the evaluator would be a navigator, but actually it was just introspection. Don't think we should give him a clap for that. Trying to find my own one there, but got nowhere with it. Right, in terms of the grammar side of things, one of the things that Dave said, image isn't everything, and it is everything. And when I think of image, it's not just sort of walking around, it's the pictures that you can produce in your mind from the talk that you were giving there, Dave. One of the things that I did, I got those pictures in my mind there, and one of the things I was able to do is actually write them down point by point. And when I'm at meetings and try and take notes, sometimes it's difficult, the person jumps all over the place. I've got a lovely little pattern. So with a bit of practicing, I could do what you did. Possibly. So that was tremendous.
That's what you did in his book.
Oh yes. Those are the little touches, you know. Use the words that create the image there, and this I think sort of happened with a number of the talks that I did there. Now let's start off with Mandy. And this was a very sort of personal presentation that she gave there. And again, I could get those pictures in my mind from the words that you chose to describe the situation that you were in. Positive affirmations was one of the phrases that got to me. And then the brushing and flossing of the teeth was another one that sort of conjured up the images there. The hugging, praying, and reading. And I think those sort of pictures that you can get from what you were saying there, and I'm sure with a little bit of practice, Martin could come up with a lyric using some of those words there. So I really enjoyed that presentation in terms of the picture images that I got there. And Tanya, the same sort of story there in terms of using words to create a picture in my mind there. You know, just picture the little kid chair and then the big chair. And Johnny's down there doing his thing there. So just thinking of some of the words. Elevator pitch was a sort of phrase that I kind of took to. Intense interrogation. And the hints that you gave in terms of the past, present and future is something that we can apply in our speeches if we sort of find ourselves stumbling where to go. Think of something along the lines that you described there. So I really enjoyed that. Tanya, then we had Joan. And again, I had this wonderful picture and things that I wasn't aware about. We had Anne talking about, I never knew that the North Pole sort of floats around all over the place, and the challenges of actually trying to get to it. I always thought the South Pole was more difficult than the North Pole. is the difficult one.
Yeah.
And then, in terms of the picture images I got of these motors on the sledges and the horses, totally wrong selection of equipment for the journey there. So I enjoyed the mental picture that I got there. And then the story of Munson and his lifestyle, and I never realised that that was very much his lifestyle in terms of, it wasn't just one thing that he did, it was a whole collection of things that he did. So, well done, I enjoyed it, and I find myself in a position now to sort of go back and sort of research some of those mental images that I've got there. And I think that's it, isn't it? I think. Yeah. Anyway, well done for all those who did use the word. It must have happened at least half a dozen times. It was a difficult word, a challenging word, I think, but well done for those who used it. Thank you.
Understand the custom clubs.
Did anybody use the word of the day in the James Bond context?
No.
Too much to ask. Our counter. Hugo, please tell us what you found.
Mandy. Very sad. No ums, no ahs, no likes, no so's, no crutches. Very well done. Abrina, sadly I gave you 7 ums and ahs. Tanya had 1 and 1 so. Yeah, when you had 3 ums and 2 ahs.
I know.
And now you have 2 ums and 1 D. Adrian. 5 arms. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very welcome as a member, Hugo. You can pick up any of my arms. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the, what have I forgotten? Voting. The voting. Please would you fill out, thank you, Darren, fill out the slip for best evaluator and hand it to our sergeant.
As you get off the highway, just on the
Telling me he's welcome as a member and he leaves the room. Thanks. Is everybody handed in their slip? Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great pleasure to hand you back to our Postmaster, Mr. Martin Parry.
Not the naughty corner, it's the naughty corner.
Separate you.
Thank you. Adrian knows a man named Keith who mislaid his set of false teeth. They'd been laid on a chair. He forgot they were there. So he sat down and was bitten beneath. Adrian said, by the way, you used the word clap. I recommend that you use the word applaud or applause, because clap is a sexual transmitted disease. Please remember that.
How would you know that?
Auntie Google.
That's a mental picture.
Yeah, Mr. Toastmaster.
But I must say,
Mr. Toastmaster.
no, I'm ignoring you.
I know you. Each club can make their own rules as far as clap and applause and the use of sexual innuendos.
So you want That's a sick girl that says something. Oh, geez, did you pick that humor up? Now, Bonnie Bryanston. I realized today Bryanston does not understand humor. And it needs to be explained slowly.
Mr.
So,
Toastmaster.
I would
Mr. Toastmaster,
not
your humor
laud
needs
your,
to be-
I would not laud your approach, madam, regarding the clap and applause.
Mr. Toastmaster, with regard to us not enjoying humor, just remember one thing, there's a different culture in Bryanston compared with the culture in
I
Pretoria.
realize that today. Don't incorrect. The English don't understand English here at all. Okay. And just for the lady who gets offended with sexual innuendos, I've done it. I've mowed the lawn. But my muscles are aching and torn. I could swear there are some in my legs and my bum. I've not used since the year I was born. Was that all right? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Toastmasters, visitors, guests, been great to share again here, once again at your club. It's always a privilege to come here, meet some new faces, meet the older faces, who always want to be applauded and clapped and whatever. But it's great to be here, and thank you. Thank you for the humor that we could share, and the people that prepared on the theme of the day. I just want to congratulate you, Anai. When I first met you, you were a first timer, you were very shy and reserved. And a few times I've seen you, I could see a development in a Toastmaster. So please don't lose this confidence you're developing and your smile.
Yes. Yeah, die for it.
What are you doing tonight? Can Thank you very much. Before I hand back or release the lectern to our president of the club, it's just something I would like to announce, and I'd like my colleague from Centurion to join me here, please. All right. Right. We always seem to come here with some kind of award. And it's to pay for our breakfast. So I'd like to call up your VPE to come here, please. Mandy. middle, Cyril. Geez, I've got to teach him a lot of things when he got back. All right. Now, thanks for inviting us again through your club, and we want to come again. That's why we decided at great expense to present you with this award. Will you please take it up and show the audience?
Loads to read, loads to do, loads of fun.
You can also read it tonight with the children. It's also got pictures.
Thank you.
You can explain the pictures.
I'll explain it to you.
Lois looks like you.
There's that kid.
All right. Now this is just again for certain people who do not like innuendos. And I want to see if somebody picks it up. I don't want your comment. A he-melon suffering droop.
Can't even say it. It's too embarrassing. Okay.
A he-melon suffering droop. Spied a she-melon, round as a hoop. And he beamed as he said, "Come away, let's be wed." But she sighed and she said, "Can't he look?" Once again, thanks for having us. Thanks for having me. Thanks for putting up with limericks. You can be glad they were not lusty limericks. Because I got a snack with them. Well, please welcome your president as she takes over from the meeting. Thank you.
Sorry if we were disappointing audience. That's not the start of the Yanks game. Right, time for our meeting awards. May I have a drum roll, please, for best evaluator? Harold.
Camera action, 1, 2, 3, cut.
Yeah.
Must be careful with that.
I want to give out the Genie Award before we do the speaker. And I was pondering over this throughout the meeting, but then a very easy decision was made for me when I asked someone to please help out with a particular thing that seems like such a small thing to most people who are just sitting here and enjoying the morning. But those of us considering logistics are aware of sound, and the lovely ladies and gents in the kitchen who so lovingly prepare our delectable meal, I think they dislike me because I go in there often and say, "Please keep quiet." And it's really tough for them. I get it when they're working with noisy stuff. But I asked Tampu to please go in, and because I'd been in already, and I don't know what your magic touch was, but the noise ceased, and so thank you for that. I'd like to give you the Genie Award.
Who's taking the picture?
Picture man. He's nice.
Oops.
Right, drum roll for best speaker.
Picture man.
Somebody, anyway.
No, not me. No. I'll still not you.
Thank you. Every here and there in front of you is the Toastmasters promise. We don't make a big, well, we don't bring it to draw attention to this almost at all. And Hugo is gone. Very usefully reminded me of the importance of it at our last meeting, and with very specific reference. He'd been to, I think, 2 consecutive meetings, or they were certainly within close proximity to each other, and he said, I've seen very different faces from one meeting to the next, which speaks to regularity of attendance, let's call it that, and there's all sorts of reasons why that is difficult for people, and that's fine, we accept all of those things, but just as a reminder, I would like to just read this out to everybody today, please. Toastmasters promise. As a member of Toastmasters International in my club, I promise to attend club meetings regularly, to prepare all my projects to the best of my ability, basing them on the Toastmasters education program, to prepare for and fulfill meeting assignments, to provide fellow members with helpful, constructive evaluations, to help the club maintain the positive, friendly environment necessary for all members to learn and grow, to serve my club as an officer when called upon to do so, to treat my fellow club members and our guests with respect and courtesy, to bring guests to club meetings so they can see the benefits Toastmasters membership offers, to adhere to the guidelines and rules for all Toastmasters education and recognition programs, and to act within Toastmasters' core values of integrity, respect, service and excellence during the conduct of all Toastmasters activities. Let's clap for that. Big mug. We always acknowledge. Thank you to you too for the gift. So I'll read out what I've received. One simply says, Adrian, I don't know why they picked on you because there was no reason given. But as you have been a recipient of this prestigious award twice, I'll give you a pass.
Thank you. I thought I might get it again.
Martin, for insulting residents south of the Yuxgate.
Yes.
Mandy, for showering so many times in the day. A shared nomination for Martin and Dave for interruptions and inappropriate sexist comments.
Clean, man.
But yes, could have loved yes.
How do you know?
I know.
This one's agreed. Someone noticed that apparently you folded your arms when you were listening to someone asking a question in your body language.
It was that's the winner. That's the winner.
Martin, Praetorian, Inspector, tit for tat. Dave, the tennis ball, which makes 3. For following Prof and asking what he's looking for. Bum, Business Utility Manager. And Mandy's Mandy, someone suggested that as you wake up at 4:30 and then spend 20 minutes meditating, you might just sleep until 5 o'clock. I hope I interpret that correctly, by the way. Martin, you were many wonderful limericks. And the woman who came from Bra and the men from, you know where? Ewan, that you thought Martin should be called Madam Toastmaster. And there were a couple others that I'm not going to call out because I don't think I understand them and I don't want to misinterpret. Anyway, I think that anybody going to argue with me, I think it definitely goes to you.
Yes.
Yay.
Okay, before we end off, I'd like to ask Man.
I'm not sorted.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
Yay. Mandy has all the spots filled for the next meeting. That's that. Who are the speakers, please?
Our speakers are Tambu, Lynn, Harold and Hugo for next meeting. And then we've already booked up the following meeting, who is Abrina, Ane, Adrian and Fortune.
Stunning. Stunning.
And the following one as well. Provided that nobody bails.
Yes, ik play soccer.
I'm naming and shaming now. Good. High face.
Yeah.
On the bus. I can name and shame.
Any of our visiting members or any of our guests that would like to share anything with us, having attended our meeting? Not yet. Visiting.
Powerful, thank you very much for coming out today. Thank you.
Nikki?
Oh, good. Thank you very much.
Had a good time.
Had a great time. I'll be coming back next time.
On a point. Anybody like to? Do you want to say?
Oh, I just would like to say thank you to Dave and Martin for giving us the educational. I think we all learned a lot. And thank you for adding value. Martin, we loved your theme for the day. Thank you for the corny ones and the not so corny ones. We did laugh, but we normally only laugh at the naughty ones anyway. So, but thank you very much to both of you for making the trek out here and for joining us this morning. Thank you.
Just to let you know, from the Treasurer's viewpoint, we've got 16 paid-up members at the moment, which is double the amount to be in good standing. Those who haven't paid yet, please try and do it before the last day of this month. Please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if, as a member, you're following the Pathways program and you haven't paid up and you haven't paid the fees to World Headquarters, you do run the risk of not having access to Pathways from Monday. I suspect that it won't happen until the 10th of October or sometime later in the month, but in theory, you could lose access to Pathways on Tuesdays.
Okay, thanks Nikki for bringing that
Thank
up.
you. No, just the member.
Just a member.
Could I check? Could we have that on the point or some?
There was an article about semi-annual dues in On a Point, the one that was circulated yesterday. It's the last article on a Point.
Our next meeting is then in 2 weeks' time on the 12th of October.